12 o'clock. So I'm just wondering, and I'm very mindful of the fact that we have an audience clearly here for a particular item on the agenda. So I wonder if we might just deal with that item on the agenda first. I'm just guessing it's the Rawhiti golf course. So if we could do that. I would also like to do the representation review before I go to lunch as well. So, and the South New Brighton motor camp. So if I could do 25, 26 and 27, but I'll do them in the other order. I'll do 26, 25, 26, 27 and 25, and then I'll go over. I have a lunch meeting. It's not a, just that I want to go and eat or something. And then Vicky Buck is going to take over the chair, and the break for lunch will be at 1 o'clock. So, but that may mean that I'll miss the rest of the meeting, which that'll just have to be that way. Yeah. So so could we deal with the Rawhiti golf course item? And the I think Mr. Fussell has left the building. No. Well, anyway. But look, I'm. Would the two local councillors like to move and second this? Right. So David moves, Glenn seconds. And I think that I'll just do a bit of an explanation to start with, because there will be a lot of people who are surprised to see this on the agenda, and I think that with the interest in it, I should really offer an explanation. So, having been new to the long-term planning process of a council, I was not prepared for the experience that we went through last year, called the review of the activity management plans of the council. So everything that the council does is governed really by an activity management plan, and they set within them certain levels of service. But they have financial implications, obviously, because the levels of service will impact on the amount of funding that the council devotes to certain activities. The question of the Rawhiti Golf Club came up last year during the annual planning process, and that was something we were brand new thrown into when we first arrived, and we said, no, don't put anything like that out into a very distressed community at this stage. We can certainly spend time talking to people, and we found the same with the South New Brighton motor camp, which we which was a very public issue prior to the election in 2013. And so in the course of the activity management plan process, the item removing the funding for the Rawhiti Golf Club at the conclusion of a process was included in the activity management plans, and it went through that process perhaps without the due attention of the councillors that ought to have been expected. And I must admit that during that whole process, it seemed to me that it was a poor process for decision making, because local government decision making is based on bringing a paper to the council, having options for the council to consider, and for the council then to make a decision, but also based on community consultation, so that there is engagement around these decision-making processes before decisions are made. The activity management plan process seems to have developed over the years as a mechanism for making decisions in a fast-track way, but which doesn't observe good practice, because the consultation is the long-term plan process. And so once I realised that we were trapped in the process, I took legal advice as to whether we could get out of it. And if you turn to page 273 of your report, the legal implications are spelt out, and this basically summarises the legal advice that I received. The council is currently consulting with the community on its proposed LTP. Included in the information relied on in the consultation document is a proposal to close the Rawhiti golf course. A large number of written submissions have been received from people and organisations with an interest in the matter. Overwhelmingly, they're opposed to the golf course closing. The period for written submissions has ended. The Council will shortly be hearing people who want to present their views personally. It can be expected that those who have already made written submissions and who've indicated they want to be heard will confirm their view that the course should remain open. However, the Council will not make a decision on the matter until the consultation process has been completed and all submissions received, whether verbal or written, are considered. In the meantime, because the level of interest in retaining the golf course is so high, approval is sought for staff to discuss with the Rawhiti Golf Club the future of the facility, in particular its financial viability. The objective would be a solution that saw the course remain open, but at no cost to the ratepayers. If approval is given, the intention would be to make the outcome of the discussions available to the Council for consideration at the time it makes its decision in respect of the proposal. People who still want to have their views heard will not be prevented from doing so, nor from having those views included in the Council's deliberations. It is important that the Council retains an open mind. If it does, then it is open for the Council to deal with the matter in this way without being in breach of its consultation and decision-making obligations contained in the Local Government Act 2002. Now, I've read it out because I want people to understand that, that we're trapped in a process. But what this paper and what this authorisation will enable will be the capacity for us to make a different decision from the one that's in the long-term plan if we decide to do so, because we retain an open mind about the matter, rather than saying at the end of the process of the long-term plan, we want staff now to go to the community to see if it can be run at no cost to the council. So this enables us to make a much more short-track process, but the only regret that I made was that I accepted the original legal advice and didn't do this earlier. So, but once we get to the hearings and we discover that people want to come and sit before the council and say the same thing for 5 minutes over and over and over again, because we've got hundreds of submissions that want to repeat this, I kind of wanted to see whether we could truncate that process by saying to the community there is another way that we could resolve this matter. So that's really the fundamental outline as to why this paper is being brought before us now. Glenn.
Thank you, Mayor. And if we're saying the same thing but in different ways, I agree with that. Obviously, there are going to be some big learnings coming out of this.
Yes.
In terms of how the systems and the processes have put out messages to the community over both this and the next report. I'm thinking and I think this is the role of the People Committee, which has 2 councillors on it. They presumably act as a kind of a political filter, but we need that, in my view, through the organisation, who are not politicians. But we need kind of those filters built in, and perhaps in our reporting templates when it comes to reports, a sort of a social impact. We have financial implications, etc. built in, but I think we need, because we can't have this happening again.
No, but I think it's the activity management plan process as an alternative to a proper local government decision-making process.
Yes.
So I think we just need to change the decision-making process. That activity management plan shouldn't be seen as an opportunity to make fundamental changes that should be subject to community engagement. The long-term plan process is not the engagement that you would want to focus your attention on issues like these. I mean, you can have multiple engagements at once during a long-term plan process, but it needs to be better notified than this. Yeah. David.
Thank you. Look, I totally support this move here, and perhaps just looking over the whole situation. The Rawhiti domain was originally gifted to the community way back in the early 1900s. And the golf course established somewhere around in the 1930s, and it's the only sort of 18-hole public golf course where people can get on without clashing with club commitments. community involvement and running of community facilities is totally compatible with our council objectives, and I think what we're doing here is totally in line with that. There's a history of council not being particularly great operators of council facilities, and out on our side of town there has been considerable concern raised in the community with the potential closure of yet another facility. So look, I totally support this notion of entering into discussions with the Rawhiti Golf Club, and I note that we want to manage the various risks associated with 3.4 of the report and find a way to perhaps negotiate with the club and mitigate the various rules and regulations around establishing safeguards for council and going through this process. But I think ultimately we can achieve a win-win situation that's both a great outcome for the community of the eastern suburbs and the Rawhiti Golf Club itself. So I think where we're going now is a very, very good way to resolve this issue.
Yanni, then Tim.
Thank you. I really appreciate this report. It's really good to see that it has options. I was just concerned that in option 2, that there's a statement that the club may not offer the best proposal to council if they're the only party involved. And I just wanted to check in terms of legal advice that you've received, given the new Local Government Act requirements to ensure that we have the most cost-effective delivery of services, that has gone through that test, because that is a new requirement that we previously haven't had. And with that sentence in there, it does raise an issue for me as to whether we've tested it against the risk.
I think that's a risk that we need to mitigate.
Yeah.
So essentially it's just identifying it, and that we need to make sure that when we discuss these issues it's a balanced negotiation.
I think that we would normally go out and to an expression of interest if we were expecting to be financially recompensed, but we're not. We're expecting this to be run at no cost to the council.
I guess the concern is in terms of what we have to do under the LGA, which is review the cost effectiveness of current arrangements for meeting the needs of communities within the district or region for good quality local infrastructure, public services, and we have to do that in a way that's, I guess gets the best value for people. So.
But it's got any proposal to operate Rawhiti Golf Course must be at no cost to rates, capital or operational. A full financial analysis of any proposal will be presented to the council as part of the council's decision-making process. This enables it to come back to us for a decision at the same time that we determine the LTP.
Right, so if someone wanted to come in and put a proposal, and I mean we haven't gone through all the submissions of LTP, but if they said, hey look, we can pay you $5,000 a year and make a profit and return it to you, we still have to be open to that through that process.
Yeah,
but we won't have discussions with those people. We will have discussions with the golf club.
I think the golf club has already been talked to, and so has the other obvious one, which is the Rawhiti Sports club there, and essentially they've said they're a backstop if the golf club can't provide. I mean, there's a local solution that's a win-win, okay. But
And can I just ask a second question related to this, because I support the approach that you're taking. I think it makes a lot of sense. If there's other facilities that we have earmarked for closure in LTP through the activity management plans, what's the process for us to enter into the same sort of discussions?
Well, we've got the South Brighton one next, but I don't know.
Is the other one. So do you
well,
make sure that we've got a consistent process through this?
I guess it's part of coming up with options.
Yeah.
And that if you want to raise those as part of this process, that we'd have discussions at that stage.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's no.
I've
made no secret that I've initiated this. I took legal advice on it. I was told that we weren't allowed to do this, but we've found a way within the legal framework to do this. So.
36.2 outlines that, I think.
Yeah,
So basically what I should take from that is if I want to get something happening similar to Wharenui, then, well, there's no council resolution to do it. Okay, that's my point. Like,
them,
I mean, I support this process, but I think we do have to be consistent with how we're approaching our facilities.
yeah. Tim and then Vicky.
Yeah, I just want to pick up the point. I disagree with David's comments with regards to our facilities teams. I think they do an excellent job. Generally, the facilities we run are quite difficult, pools, etc., and I think they do a fantastic job. So I know there are difficulties at times and differences of opinions, but I just want to clarify that, and they have my support.
Yeah, I don't think that an intention was to undermine. Yeah, but the comment was in relation to the golf club. Yeah, Vicky.
I think the concept of bringing this before us today is excellent. Thank you for doing that. I think we made a gaffe in terms of looking like we wanted to close the golf club, which wasn't the object of the exercise. The object, as I saw it, was to remove the ratepayer subsidy from the golf club and find a better way of, or a cheaper way for other ratepayers of the golf club staying there. So I like the way that you found a legal way to do what you're doing. I think it's excellent. In relation to Wharenui, there are two issues. One is the potential closure of the pool, which is not until some years after this, and is certainly not in the first year plan. When we come to consider the long-term plan, I will definitely suggest that we don't look at closing it. The other is the reopening of the recreation centre, and work is already happening on that because I've just had an email about it.
Yep.
So that's all cool. So thank you for that, Leanne. I think it's excellent.
Glenn?
If I may just speak to the debate, I'm happy with the lease arrangements here. I know it's not a straight out comparison with the next. This is quite next item. This is quite kind of case.
I might swap the order because I really want to talk
Oh, right,
to the other
rightio.
one.
And there's a lot at stake to keeping these discussions going. Yes, there are a lot of other golf courses around, but that area, but they're private. This is known to be affordable. Has a long history in that respect. It runs a Samoan golf academy, so I think it's quite unique. So for Rawhiti, I think it's. I can see Sam and I here. It's really important that we keep these discussions going.
Yep. All right, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Well done. Thank you. Thank you.